All right, let's go absolutely nutcase here. And that was not a pun, even though this is a lot of screws and nuts. This is brake hardware for disc brakes, Shimano in this case. And yeah, there's actually some weight saving to gain here, which I thought I could show off today. This is definitely not the first place I would start chasing grams. Every gram is not equal, in my opinion. Like everything you can shave off the wheels is always top priority. But once you expanded all those options, getting into the smaller things is quite fun, actually. So this is the hardware kit for my particular bike, and I will argue that you could actually save some more grams on a standard bike, which I will explain sooner. But just to get this started, this is the starting point, and just to let's put this aside. Just to go through what it actually is, we have the front caliper adapter, standard Shimano one, and to mount that adapter to the caliper itself, that's these two screws. And then to mount the adapter to the fork is these two screws. Now, in my case, I have the same two screws for the rear caliper, just because I don't actually have the correct screws in non-lightweight version. So this will be a substitute. In reality, you would use something like this, which is much heavier, and therefore there's actually more potential for weight saving. But I need to stick with what I'm actually using here, so I'm going to use this as a substitute. And lastly, we have the hose nuts. This goes into the lever side, and these ones goes into the caliper side. I'm sure you're familiar with those. And there we go, that's a kit of 45.2 grams. And just to get a quick overview what actually the total saving will be, I'm just going to reset the scale here. So I'm just going to quickly add all the replacement parts to get our total weight saving to start with. There we go, 19.2 grams saved. And just for our nerds, let's go into the nitty-gritty ones and compare each part by themselves. Now the replacement specialized hardware, which are these parts, including the mounting bracket, these are from TIparts.com, something like that. I will put it down in the description. It's not sponsored. I picked this up on the Black Friday sale, which might or might not be still going on, I don't know. So there was like 20% off. That made it not too crazy. It's still way more expensive than to buy standard hardware like these. And these is the mounting hardware is actually a standard bolts or standard titanium bolts from a local store in Japan, which is way more cheaper investment. So I wouldn't suggest you would get like the specialty brands just for normal hardware. Yeah, you can get away way cheaper with that. Unfortunately, the proprietary hardware bolts and stuff, like these ones, for example, they have a kind of special shape to fit as they should. So you can't really, well, you might if you look hard enough, if you can find something like this, like standard issue titanium bits, but there might be a premium. I think one of these, for example, is standard price like $6 or something, but yeah, 20% off on that sale. So that's why I just jumped into it. Yeah, once I get into the Titanium Weenie Season 2, yeah, there's no shortcuts. Anyway, let's look closer at each part. So if we start with the brake adapter, standard Shimano one, and this is the 3D printed titanium one bridge, I guess, but still this is from titanium parts as well. And if you check the weight saving, 11.6 grams for a standard one, and then it's 6.5 for the 3D printed one. This one though is probably the one I would skip of any of these kind of hardwares, just because if I look really close, you can see the gap there maybe. So this 3D printed one is not 100% flat like this one is. This is, yeah, there's no wiggle room at all pushing down on this. Whilst I'm gonna do this, Now I will make this work anyway, no issues there I think, but there is actually a CNC machine aluminum one that is about the same weight as this, so I think that would be a much better option than this, but like I said, I will make this work anyway. Then we have the hose bolts. This is standard Shimano ones that goes into the brake lever side or the shift lever side. That's 10 grams for 2. If we replace them with the titanium ones, that's 5.6, so that's almost like, yeah, where's that? That's almost like, yeah, half the weight there, and that's gonna be a pretty common theme, I think. This is the hose nuts on the caliper side. 5 grams there, replaced with the titanium ones. 4.9, well, not exactly 50% off or 50% saving, but close enough. And the last specialty ones, these are the ones that goes from the adapter to the caliper, and you see the locking thing here, so if you're worried about that, you might be out of luck. 4.4 there. Titanium ones, 2.4. Now when it comes to the stand balls, like I said, I'm using the same for the front here as in the back, because just to show what I mean, these are my front ones, like standard issue bolts from a local hardware store here, which it's titanium, and I got like a bag of like 50 titanium washers just to top it off here. And you see the bolts for the rear is just a little bit longer. I don't have any equivalent length of the standard ones, so this will sit in. Like I said, in reality, you would use something like this for like a standard carbon frame these days. So then the potential weight saving would be even more. But anyway, just to see where we're ending up here. 40.244. And here we have 8.6 for the standard titanium bolts there. So yeah, that was actually a bit more weight saving than I thought it would be in the end. Now all these proprietary titanium bolts here are anodized. These are the black versions. There are different colors you can get. If you're like 12, you can get pink and stuff like that. It's not like they will be visible anyway, but that doesn't mean you definitely shouldn't neglect putting on thread locker and grease and stuff like that. Yes, to help with that possible risk of corrosion between different materials and whatnot. I'm definitely no material scientist, so I won't say more than that. But yeah, I tinker with my bike so much that I never really seen that kind of problem arise in my case. But of course, I can't guarantee anything. It's not like us weight-obsessed people takes a few risks here and there with our part selection. That's the way it goes. And I know, yeah, why obsess over 19 grams? That's like a fart in the wind and yada yada. But I guess I have a few nuts loose in the head. So yeah, if you don't complain, well, I guess you can. If you're an Aero weenie, well, fuck up.